YouTubes so I can respond to the chat.
Okay, we are live. Hey, everybody who's waiting in. Welcome to Truth, Money, and Freedom, by the way. Today is Monday, June 14th, 2021. And I have with me today Alex Harat with the Free American Press. And I've done so much Second Amendment stuff here in the last, oh boy, 6 months technically. We need to touch upon silver and gold because there is news in that venue. So we want to talk a little bit about silver and gold today. First of all, I want to say hello to Liberty Revolutionary and Jimmy D. I know you guys are in the chat. And now I'd like to officially welcome Alex. Alex, thank you for joining today.
Oh, thank you, Patrick, for letting me be on your show. How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. It's good to actually do something just a little bit different for a change. As you know, I've been working on stuff in the state of Missouri, and it's time to get back to gold and silver because there's news in that arena. Even in the state that you currently are in, you don't reside in, but you're currently in a state right now that's been doing some stuff with gold and silver. But it's also associated with what other states have been doing with gold and silver. So I'll let you kind of chime in and talk to us about that.
Yeah, that's true. So, what a lot of states are now doing within the United States is making gold and silver legal tender. So, basically, what that means is that you don't have to use monopoly money anymore called the US dollar. You're actually allowed to use gold and silver when you want to buy something. Say, in I believe Utah's one, you put a silver coin and then you can buy like a drink or something. So, it's pretty cool that they're actually doing this because this is going to weaken the banks. This is going to make real money again. So I'll show the screen for everyone. So right now we're trying to implement this here in Tennessee. So they introduced the bill already, and so they want to make it legal tender again as a medium of exchange. So basically, what that means is that we're going back to pre 1964, where we were able to make gold and silver money. So that's basically what this bill is intending to do. So, and it's going to be something really good. What do you think of that, Patrick?
I think that's an excellent idea. Constitutionally, we should be on gold and silver anyway. So, even as the Federal Reserve Act, was actually 1913, I believe, and even as that happened, the dollar was still based on gold, and our change was based on silver. Plus, we did have Federal Reserve notes, or I'm sorry, we did have Treasury notes that still were silver certificates. So they represented something real. You could go to the bank and change your paper money for gold and silver back then. And then in 1933 or 1934 is when FDR basically took away all the gold through, or didn't take it away, but strongly suggested that you bring all your gold into the bank. So we left the gold standard kind of at that point as far as people are concerned. Um, so silver was taken away right after JFK died. I think it was 1964, 1965 is when they took silver away from the money supply, and now we're just working with paper. 1971 is when basically Nixon said we're no longer on a gold standard. So this is a move to kind of start reversing that course, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I find it funny that that's when they got rid of the gold standard. I mean, the silver standard when JFK died. That's a pretty big coincidence. But yeah, you're completely right on the Constitution. I shared the screen. So no state is able to make anything but gold and silver coin in to pay off debts. So I find that rather interesting that right now we're not fulfilling the Constitution. Right now we're just using this funny money. So I think what we're doing, Patrick, is going back to our constitutional roots, going back to the rule of law. And what this is going to do right now, we're having a major problem, everyone. Basically, a small group of bankers are able to control the course of the United States, and that is called the Federal Reserve. It's a small group of private uh, corporation leaders, banking, who get to make all the decisions in regards to the United States money. They decide how much money they're going to print, how much money they're going to give to certain people. But with gold and silver, it makes governments much more honest because with money, funny money, you're able to print as much as you please, as many bills as you want, give it to as many friends as you want to. And the problem as well, when you control the printing press, you control the country because you decide who you're going to give the money to first. And say you give $1 million to Patrick, right? I give $1 million to you. Well, you're going to be the first person to be able to use that money and inject it into the economy. So when you use it first is when it's going to be most powerful because all the other people only have a few $100. So you're going to be really rich. But once that money gets into the real economy, is when they're going to lose all their purchasing power. And we've seen this time and time again. That's actually why the inflation isn't as high as it should because they're not injecting the money in the real economy. They're injecting it to their friends so they can buy their big yachts and everything else.
Well,
So I
doesn't
think
it get
this
injected into the real economy when they buy their yachts and stuff?
it does, yes, and
Okay,
then it really weakens the value. So yeah,
it does.
that's definitely true.
So
This
I
meeting
take your
is
point.
being recorded. The recording has stopped.
Uh,
Yeah, definitely.
okay, so basically, let's look at it from a different angle. If the Federal Reserve prints up a bunch of just minty fresh brand new currency and gives it to the Treasury, we don't have inflation, do we? It's just sitting there at the Treasury, right? So the
Yep.
Treasury then takes that money and gives it to the, just say the big banks, or gives it to the government to pay contractors that are working overseas or whatever. So once again, not general circulation. It's when the big banks do something with it, or when the contractors buy stuff with it, is when it actually starts diluting the currency, correct?
Right. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So
So my next question is, and it's not so much a question, it is a kind of a rhetorical statement. Gold and silver. Now I don't know how much on silver, but on gold, when we were on a gold standard, we tend to mine about an additional 2% gold per year. So that's all we would get into our system. That also, by a weird coincidence, also happened to be the birth rate, or the population growth. So basically, we had 2% inflation with gold the entire time when we were on gold on average, but we also had a 2% population increase every year. So is that really inflation? And so when you have more people in 2% more people and 2% more money, it's not really inflation, is it? So gold wasn't inflationary, was it?
no, it definitely wasn't. And if you see the population growing more than 2% each year, you're actually going to see a deflation
A deflationary
of the
currency.
currency.
Yep.
Exactly.
So now, as far as silver goes, I know silver's mined at a higher rate. There's for every ounce of gold they pull out of the earth, they generally get. Well, actually, the new numbers coming from some friends, some good friends of ours, David Morgan spoke about this a while ago, that it's roughly 8 or 9, I believe he said, to 1 now, whereas the generally accepted one was like 10 or 15 to 1, literally just going back 5 or 6 years ago. So they're mining less silver, and there's various reasons for that. But the important point is, I need to come back to what I was saying before. If, and all the mining aspects were true, the inflationary part is true, then why is it, Alex, explain to me, please, why is it gold and silver seem to be going up so much in value if they're not, basically in inflationary currency?
Uh, the reason why gold and silver aren't going up in value
No,
is because they're able to tamp it down
yeah,
uh,
they're tamping
through the
it down,
LBM.
aren't they? There's manipulation on the other
Yeah.
side of this. And it's not in the physical gold and silver, is it?
No, it's in the paper fiat
You bet.
market, paper, paper gold, which is not real gold, it's just fake gold, but they're able to manipulate the price. The government has allowed that for, I think, possibly industrial reasons. These big corporations don't want to pay, thousands of dollars for their silver. So they're getting these big and the banking elites don't want to lose their monopoly on money either. So those are some of the basically boils down to greed. That's why they're tamping down the gold and silver market. So what we need to do to break the LBMA, to break, all this whole illusion, which is the fiat currency, is to actually start buying stuff with gold and silver. Actually, start using it, because if we start using it, eventually the premiums will be so high for gold and silver. Their manipulation won't be nearly as powerful anymore. It will be non-existent. So that's why I think it's so important for us to do what's happening right now. States where gold and silver has become legal tender. So here's some states, everyone, who have actually made gold and silver legal tender. Louisiana, Utah, Texas. So we saw those states. West Virginia, Wyoming. No, it was defeated, unfortunately, in Wyoming, but it is happening in a lot of states like Utah. So what we need to do is what a lot of these states are doing. We need to actually start passing making gold and silver legal tender. We need to do it in Missouri, for instance. They actually put a bill in for income tax deduction for capital gains from the exchange of gold and silver. So they actually did that in Missouri. Did fail before, but I think we can get it done in Missouri, and we're seeing it in Tennessee and all these other states. So there's a big movement for real money, for real wealth, because gold and silver, it stands the test of time. That's one of the great things about stone tablets, for instance. That's why we've been able to look so far into the past, because those have actually survived. We can read the history, but once you start using paper or digital money, well, that just gets lost. That doesn't stand the test of time. So that's one of the great things I find about gold and silver. It'll basically last forever, and that's what gold and silver is. It's a metal. So that's what I find good about it. What do you think about that thought, Patrick?
Yeah, I think a lot of things about that. In fact, we'll get to your comments here in just a little bit. I know a lot of you are commenting in real time here. To begin with, um, gold and silver are not inflationary. So I'd like to start with that. They stay the same price, but that's not true in currency. In currency, they seem to go up in value, but that's not because the value of your gold and silver is going up. It's because the value of your currency is going down. So an important distinction here, and the tamping that you talked about ever so lovingly and gently before, is actually really connected to making sure people don't see gold and silver as a safe haven from overprinting of currency. So as we print more currency, we should be seeing gold and silver going up. But we see it go up a little bit, but nowhere near as much as it should because of the tamping, the manipulation aspect of gold and silver by banks. By the way, let's call them out. It's the office of President of the United States because it's actually the Treasury that gives power to the COMEX, to the CME. So actually it's the president. Name a president, it doesn't matter. They've all done this, and they've all allowed for it to make the dollar look more powerful. So the benefit to us, Alex, if we were using, and by the way, we'll get to your comments, I promise you, especially Liberty, he put a good point in there. The benefit to us is that we don't lose our purchasing power. That's what's important to us. But if they keep tamping, we will lose purchasing power. That's the bad part. So the manipulation has to be acknowledged as actually an executive branch action, along with everyone under the executive branch, starting with the Treasury, going all the way down to the COMEX. The LBMA has a lot to do with it too, by the way. So, but this is the reason to have silver and gold is because of overprinting of currency. You can maintain the purchasing power of your savings. Since we can't save anymore because we don't have real interest rates anymore. And the real problem is we actually have negative interest rates in real terms, in not nominal, but in real terms. So, but I'll tell you what, unless you had something to add, I thought we'd get to some comments.
Uh, no, let's get to the comments.
Okay, gotcha. Liberty, I love what you put in here. You can always use silver and gold. It's just a matter of who accepts it. Legal tender laws just guarantee that you use it anywhere by officially recognizing it. That is absolutely correct. And I'd like to tell a quick story. I know of a car dealership in Springfield that actually took gold for the down payment of a vehicle. And it wasn't to secure the car, it was actually the down payment for the car. So it does happen in real life, gang. Some businesses will take gold. So, and of course, I'm sure whoever it was took that gold had to go get cash out of his savings to keep that gold. So I'm sure, or they went and sold it right away to get the cash for the down. But gold can and silver can be used as payment for sure. And Liberty also writes, it wasn't a recommendation to turn in your gold under FDR. I was joking about that, about the recommendation. You're right. It was a felony if you kept your gold. You're absolutely correct. However, since he was messing with the Constitution and didn't go through Congress, I think that that was an illegal act to begin with, to do an executive order for everyone to turn in their gold, especially after they devalued it right after they got everyone's. Let's see, Second Amendment stuff. No problem, Nevada. We're not going to talk about Second Amendment on this video. Um, let's see. Okay, Liberty also says it's all in the paper bonds. If you don't hold it, you don't truly own it. That's correct. When you hold paper currency, I'm going to show you guys something here. We're going to look at some paper currency real quick. Okay. When you hold this in your wallet, this is actually a negative $100 note. This isn't positive 100, this is negative. The positive side of that note is actually in a bond. So that's where the value truly is in the bonds, not in the currency. Now, we trade the currency as though it has positive value, but it technically doesn't. And when that $100 bill goes to pay a debt, it technically implodes. The $100 bill and the $100 bond that, let's say it's had its own bond, literally annihilate one another. So we the people of the United States carry the negative value monetary notes. The banks have the positive value. So they got us on that one. When it's gold and silver, then basically we have the positive value full time. So at any rate, good point there, Liberty. There's so much I could say here, but it won't fit in a live comment. Got you, Liberty. No problem, buddy. And thank you very much for your comments, Liberty. We just wanted to cover a few bases here because there are states that are literally turning to doing legislation to say, if these businesses want to accept gold and silver as transactional currency or money, they can. That's what they're basically doing in these states. It's still a choice, right, Alex? It's not like they're forcing gold and silver down their throats.
No, but one thing I would like to add, I would like to show this all to everyone because Liberty mentioned it. You need to have your gold and silver, physically, and I think that's really important because a lot of people are starting to push these things called gold and silver credit cards, which basically say that. Me and Patrick talked a little bit about it, but basically what it is that it will say that you have a certain amount of gold or silver in these cards, which doesn't really make any sense. Could you tell the viewers what you think about that, Patrick?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think the physical is the way to go. The old saying, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. If you're doing a digital version of gold and silver, you once again leave open the possibility of manipulation through the digital system or a paper system or what have you. If it's all physical gold and silver that we're using for transactions, then there's complications that ensue in our current modern age. For instance, if let's just say you're in Taiwan and you have guitar strings that I want, right? How am I going to transact with you to get those guitar strings and you get the gold or the silver? So consequently, that's where these credit cards could come in handy. That's where. Go ahead.
One thing that I wanted to add is that I think one of the great things for small transactions are like mercury dimes or little silver dimes for a small purchase like that. or they even sell 1 gram of gold or 1 gram of silver. But I don't know. The problem that I have with gold and silver credit cards is, or debit cards, is that just gives your gold and silver, gives the control of those precious metals to the banks. And that's the only thing
Yeah,
that,
no, that is
uh,
a problem, but it's one we have to overcome, is what I'm saying, so that because remember now you're in Taiwan, I'm in the United States. I need to transact with you because you have a good that I want, and you have gold that I want. So we need to find a way to make that happen because I sure as heck am not putting gold in the U.S. mail. I'm just not going to do it. So, but at any rate, maybe we can find a way to fix problems like these. And I'm sure that would be an argument for an advocate of the other side that we need to stay with the digital system, for reasons like these. But maybe we can come up with a better way of doing it rather than having the banks. And by the way, if we transacted locally and we had everything that we wanted or needed locally, this wouldn't even be an issue anyway. But sometimes it's just not possible, and we order things online. Sometimes people don't, go shopping locally. They just buy everything online. So once again, we have to find a solution for that. Um,
right.
let's see. Liberty said, let's see, it was illegal, but the federal government was already ignoring the Constitution, and the states weren't intervening. So, legitimate or not, the government would still kill you for resisting. It was illegal, but they would kill you for resisting. In other words, if you didn't give up your gold, it's possible. I think I should study that more and find out what they actually did. If they actually imprisoned people for not bringing their gold in. Uh,
I think there was a few people who got in prison, but not very many
okay,
from what
gotcha.
I was looking at.
And Maria Harat, hello Maria. She said, very well said. So Liberty said, if there's to be a digital transfer, the specifics will have to be completely decentralized. That's a very good point, Liberty. And we'll have specific contract law surrounding it. Cut the government and, I dare I say, the banks out of it. I didn't mean to add to your comment, Liberty, but I agree with it. And in fact, as Alex said, we need to cut the banks out of those transactions as well. There's no reason to have the banks taking a cut of your gold and silver because the money already exists without them adding value to it. So, therefore, there's no reason to keep the banking in. Uh, let's see. What do you guys think about crypto backed by gold and silver? Maria, excellent, excellent question. I'll tell you what, Alex, you start. I'll finish that one.
Um, well, I'm just against crypto in general. I don't like crypto anything. I guess, if they were actually a legitimate company, really doing it for people, but I just don't like the idea of anything digital, anything, because it kind of sounds like paper gold almost. So I'm against it.
Okay.
What do you think,
Well,
Pastor?
first off, okay, if we're talking about digital currency in general and not about Bitcoin, so I want to make that distinction before I begin. But the fact that there is a decentralized currency that everyone in the world can use is wonderful. That is what gold and silver was originally, except it wasn't digital, it was physical. So if you look at it from that aspect, it was a wonderful way to get rid of banks and governments, coining currency. We could get with something that the free market decides what the value is of, right? The problem is that things like Bitcoin have been usurped. They've been co-opted. They've been completely taken over by the COMEX. Once again, the Treasury of the United States has basically taken over Bitcoin. And by the way, I don't say that lightly to all of you watching today. Most of you know that I am into crypto and I have crypto and that sort of thing. But the fact that the government co-opted Bitcoin technically starting in December of 2017 is something that a lot of people are paying notice to now. And so that makes it somewhat dangerous to have. They want to tax at a level that an asset has never seen taxation before in the history of the United States of America. So that's what they think of digital currencies is a tax avenue or literally a gravy train for the federal government to squeeze value out of investors. So that's the way they see it. But I do think they want Bitcoin for their own personal use. As far as gold backing crypto, now that I got the first portion about crypto out of the way, if we could have a truly decentralized private coin that was backed by gold, like Monero, something like that, I think that might be an actual good thing. Now, some details would have to be hammered out. For instance, it's decentralized, so who holds the gold? So, that's a question that we would have to answer, but it is a possible solution, most likely for people smarter than Alex and I are, because I can't figure out how you would hold the gold exactly to make that currency valuable. And that is a logistic that would have to be figured out if you want to be decentralized. So that's kind of where I sit on that. Alex, did you have any more to add to that?
Well, I'm just against, a lot of the digital transactions, might be a way to make some sort of bank. Because one of the first things we did see, I'm kind of against banking no matter what, I guess,
Hmm.
because I don't really like the idea of it. Because, the Federal Reserve is the problem right now. But how did we get to the Federal Reserve? How did we get to that state? And the question arises, well, we did get to the Federal Reserve because of banking. People started to put their gold and silver in the banks, and then they were able to get, control of that gold and silver and have the political power to make the Federal Reserve. So just taking a strong look at it, it could happen again, even if we are able to make gold and silver legal tender and we get rid of these paper fiat monopoly money. So I don't want to see it happen again. So I'm just against, banking because it could lead to another Federal Reserve once we do get rid of the Federal Reserve today. Um, that's just kind of my thoughts. So that's one of the reasons why I'm wary of it. Whenever I hear that, I assume there could be some honest person who would do it, but we'll have to see who that is. And, like Patrick said, see the logistics of it and everything. But yeah, I'm usually not really into, digital gold, digital money in general. I like the physical, hold it in your hand. And I think a lot of people like holding gold and silver in their hand. I think as long as you're not storing like a huge amount, you'll probably be okay. Saving it wherever you save it, in your house or wherever. I don't know. What do you think, Patrick? Or was there any more comments?
Well, yeah. First of all, I'll comment on a few things you said. I physical gold and silver. I'm in. I've been in since I was 15 years old, and I am not a spring chicken anymore. I have believed in silver and gold my whole life, and none of that wavered. Not even when digital currencies like crypto came in. It did not. I hedged my gold and silver by buying a little bit of crypto. So I have been a strong advocate my entire life of gold and silver. I believe in it. I still believe that whatever we do next will still have a component of gold in it, regardless. I'm not sure they're going to monetize silver again. There's logistical issues with that too. It's too critical to industry. But a digital currency, in a weird way, kind of makes sense right now in this day and age. However, where is it going to derive its value from? Because if we do a digital currency without gold backing, we're going to have another dollar. I mean, it's just that simple, folks. So, we're going to have the same old issues with over issuance of the currency, losing value. And even though your state may not have gold and silver legally as money in your state, I still recommend that you buy it and you save in it. And in fact, I've given some strong advice to people that I know personally. I've may have mentioned it on the channel before because once again, I am not a financial consultant. I am not, and I never will be. I have no training whatsoever. But I will say this, and I've given it to people in real life. Take your kids' savings out of the bank and put it into gold and silver. Not to you, because, once again, I'm not a financial consultant. I've done this to people in my own personal life. And I've had many people actually come to me later and say, that was brilliant. Thank you. I only took half out and put it into precious metals. Now I wish I'd taken the full amount out and put it into precious metals. So, but they came and or called and thanked me anyway, for the advice because those dollars are steadily losing value. And I mean steadily losing value. And gold and silver is going up in value. Once again, the dollar's losing value is actually what's happening. So you don't want to be saving in that paper. It's, shoot, you're better off, buying, a telescope and hanging on to that than saving on to dollars. So, because that telescope will go up in value because the currency is going down in value. So it's actually really simple math. Um, okay, and let me read some more comments real quick. As the masses wake
Okay.
up, I don't think anyone will trust anything that isn't backed by gold. Jimmy D, I couldn't agree more with you. It doesn't matter what we go with next; it's going to have to be backed by gold. I and if they try to do an end run around that, I think the people will catch on. Are these guys from Wall Street Silver? Well, Logan, hello there, Logan, by the way. We're not technically from Wall Street Silver because there's very specific guidelines for being considered part of Wall Street Silver. And there's a couple of guys there that don't consider me a part of that. So I would not be from Wall Street Silver. I have participated in a lot of Wall Street Silver videos, by the way. Um, let's see. And let's see. A Utah Gold Exchange makes gold backs made of laminated thin sheets of gold. Liberty, I was aware of that. And actually, those are interesting little pieces of paper, indeed. Um, what do you think about residential real estate market? Oh, there's a good one right there. If you use gold and silver as a measuring stick instead of US dollar. Maria, I did a video on that. And a lot of people got angry with me after they did the gold conversion of their real estate. It works like this, guys. Alex, I'm sure you probably saw that video. I think I put it out in January of this year, maybe December. And what you do is you take your house when you purchased it and convert what you paid for your house into gold. And then you look at today's date at what your house is worth and convert those dollars into gold to see how much gold you lost, the lifetime of, I'm sorry, not the lifetime, but the period of time that you owned your home. And if you do that on your car, I mean, you won't buy a car again, at least not a new one. You'll never do it again if you do those
Yeah.
conversions, gang. Go ahead.
And you see that basically in everything, Patrick. We're even starting to see that in crypto. Bitcoin was kind of tanking. I think we're going to see that in crypto eventually. Maybe not right now because it's in its infancy. But I think you can basically measure gold against everything. And I think, basically everything's going down in value uh, from gold. In my opinion, if you buy a car, you use it, and it gets worse, it gets outdated. It's not worth as much gold as it used to be, and or a cell phone or just anything, except for maybe land. I think maybe raw land because you can mine gold or precious metals from land. So I think land in general is good because there's only a certain amount of land. So I like land and gold and silver because they're both there's only a certain amount. You can't make any more land. You
Yep.
can't make any more gold and silver. So but I think they'll say a little tiny residential house in a big city with only a little bit of land. Yeah, that's probably way more than it should be because we still have plenty of land in most areas. So uh, that's kind of my take on it. Uh, do you have any thoughts on it? Other
Pretty much the
thoughts on
same
it,
exact
Patrick?
thoughts. Pretty much the same. I mean, the big story here today is the fact that these states are literally saying, screw you to the Federal Reserve by saying we need to make gold and silver money in our state again because we know the federal government won't do it. They're in the wrong. They're morally wrong. The Federal Reserve is morally wrong. The whole banking sector is morally wrong. We need honest money again because they're printing their fool heads off. That's the big story here, gang. And by the way, we'll get this done here in Missouri. Let me read a few more comments. Logan asks, "Why aren't you on WSS anymore?" Well, technically, I am in the Reddit, but I'm censored there. So at any rate, I'm not going to say anything more about it there. Let's see. Evan Friedman says, "Great topic. Thank you." Hey, no problem, Evan. It's the first time we've done gold and silver in quite a while. It's the first time Alex and I've done a video together in a while. Prepper just dropping in to say hi. Got to sleep. Okay, all right. Sleep well, Prepper. Thank you for coming in. Logan says boring. Okay. I guess thank you for your constructive criticism, Logan. Jimmy D says, "Hey, Prepper, sleep well." Okay. Used to watch the roundtable. Say we're good. Logan, we will do those again. They'll be coming up real soon. For those of you, basically, Wall Street Stackers, look for Wall Street Stackers on YouTube. That's the channel we'll be doing the roundtables on, and we're going to have one on Wednesday night. Wednesday night, coming up in 2 days, gang. Another Wall Street Silver roundtable, or Wall Street Stackers roundtable. Look at the comparison amount of gold to buy a Model T when it came out compared to a mid-level vehicle now. The amount of gold is almost the same. Yep. Uh, let's see. Hello, lurking in the background, trying to learn this. Hey, Voodoo. These guys are clowns.
Oh, here's
Lo-
a good
Logan.
here's a good message.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's a good message from Patrick Lee. Raw land in remote areas is in high demand now. I definitely have to agree with that, Patrick, because we're seeing that happening right now. So I think you're definitely right, because land has always been wealth. You can see in the back in feudalism, there used to be the feudal lords that their power was derived from land. So I think we're going to see raw land, go up most likely, like you were saying, Patrick Lee.
Yep, and that's the same thing is true of farmland right now. So if you value your farmland 10 years ago in gold versus today, you know, that's another one. But by the way, farmland and gold have probably gone up the same amount. Actually, farmland may have gone up a little bit more. And now I don't know the logistics of that. I probably shouldn't say that, the way I did. But at any rate, hey Logan, let's be civil on the chat here. So, and I know you were asking me to man up and explain what happened with Wall Street Silver. I think that that Fringe Files, or in other words, Kenzie, I think she explained that pretty well in a video. So that's kind of what happened there. So we don't need to rehash that. So Liberty says Logan was trolling, just unproductive harassment. Agreed. And thank you very much, Jimmy, for taking care of him. I appreciate that. Logan, you're welcome here, but let's be civil here. So with gold and silver basically becoming money again in states, where basically retail establishments can actually have the option to accept gold or silver rather than these little pieces of paper that are losing value, I think is a pretty smart move. And it's a bold enough move that I think that people will start thinking about getting gold and silver more. And really, this is really about maintaining your purchasing power, gang. So yeah, some things are going up faster. We've seen cryptocurrencies go up in value faster. That is a great example of a distortionary bubble. That's what that is. When you have too much currency flooding into the system, it's not equally distributed among all the goods and services that are out there. It will find little pockets and niches to go into, raising the value of those assets significantly more and faster than other assets. That's what we saw with cryptocurrencies. And by the way, it's probably not over. So yeah, you can speculate if you want to on cryptocurrency, or, better yet, if you just put a little smidgen of money in crypto and then put the vast majority of your savings into gold and silver, which is what I did. I think that's, by the way, I don't play the stock market, Alex. So that's my way of kind of speculating on something and hoping to get bigger returns. So I personally don't go into the stock market. I did get a little bit of crypto, and I did do very well on crypto. So, but gold and silver is, I have never sold any gold and silver. I've given some away, but I've never sold it. That is my savings. That's my retirement. Gold and silver, by the way. That's what I've chosen to do. Okay, Alex, you have anything you want to say?
Yeah. Basically, we see big institutions stacking gold and silver, big banks. The Vatican, for instance, they have a lot of gold and silver in their reserves.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I think we should touch on really quick is the G7 possibly selling its gold reserves. So we actually saw Macron, the president of France, he was saying he wanted to sell his country's gold reserves to fund a bailout with Africa. And I think we could add this to this live stream because I thought it was pretty important. And he was saying that he wants to sell their gold reserves. Basically, the G7 is basically all the Western countries, Canada, France, the United States, all the big Western countries. So we're going to see if this does actually occur. Who is Macron going to sell the gold to? Who do you think, Patrick?
I don't know. I really don't know. That's a good question.
Huh. So what I was thinking, since China and Russia are not part of the G7, I'm kind of thinking that France is probably going to be selling their gold to them. I think it's going to be a massive wealth transfer uh, of gold like we haven't seen for a very long time. And I think this is going to have massive implications on, on everything. We're going to see what happens because those who own the gold make the rules. So I think, storing your wealth with gold and silver is a good idea. It's always been a good idea. It's enduring, and we're going to see what happens. So that's kind of what I think. Is there any more comments or anything, Patrick?
Yeah, I want to say something pretty cool here that Moto Stacker went ahead and put into the YouTube chat here. He says he offers discounts when selling items if the buyer wants to pay in silver. So basically, he is transacting in gold and silver and also offering discounts for doing so. And Stacker, you're an innovator, is what you are. Thank you for doing that. And then basically, by doing that, you're actually helping to educate other people about the practicality of having gold and silver for transactional money. So you're actually knocking, five birds out with one stone. Well done, sir. Gold and silver is my retirement. Makes me think of Ron Swanson. I love it. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, I just can't see you guys. I'm not sure what that means, Pika. You not getting a video feed? Selling their gold. The Great Reset is coming. I believe so too. But who is selling their gold? I'm curious because
The
central banks.
G7,
Go ahead.
that they were saying that France wanted to possibly sell its gold, Macron, and they've been hoarding their gold for a long time, centuries, in fact. But I think Macron, he was paid off. He's a paid off politician. I think it's just a good way to transfer the gold for a great reset, like Liberty Revolutionary saying. I think there's a big possibility of that. Do you agree, Patrick?
Yeah, I think so. Now I'm on board with you. I'm tracking. That's another interesting disparity that's happening in the gold and silver markets is that Eastern central banks are buying up gold and silver. Western central banks, not so much. And I have a reason why. And by the way, it is a speculative reason. So I don't have information on this or anything. I'm just going to share with you my opinion. Is that whatever happens next during this reset, the West wants to go to a non backed digital currency. And that's the entire West gang. So that means Australia, the United States, Europe. That's what that means. However, the East is hoarding gold and silver. So whatever they do next will probably have gold and silver backing, no matter what it is. That's my guess. So that's the reason why I think that's happening.
Yeah, I think you're right because that's all these. I don't really think this guy Macron cares about Africa, in my opinion. I think it's just going to be a wealth transfer, like you were saying, because the G7 that boasts all these different countries. So, yeah, I think you're right on that, Patrick.
Yeah. And so that's once again, Mike Maloney used to talk about the power shifting to the east, the world reserve currency, business, finance. It's been in the west for a long time now between London and New York. Now it's shifting over to the east, but it will go where the value is, and that's where the gold is, gold and silver. I know that they're stacking silver
And,
there as well.
and one thing that I saw is that China and Russia are now the biggest gold producers on the entire planet. But the problem is, though, if they're going to be making this great reset, they need to get all this gold and silver that the countries of the West have been hoarding for hundreds of years. Italy still has a lot of gold. France has a lot of gold. United States still has massive gold reserves, or at least it's supposed to. So I think this is a good way to transfer the gold to the East, which is their plan, because the East really can't be powerful unless they have all of this gold, or they can, but they'll really weaken them. So they want to get as much gold as they can before they do this great reset, I think. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yep.
It
Jimmy,
looks, it
go
looks like,
ahead.
oh no, you go ahead.
Well, Liberty Revolutionary says exchanging the gold for debt. It's a long story and something else we'll talk about in person. No problem, Liberty. TC says, or I'm sorry, Jimmy says, TC, no citizen will tolerate a non gold backed money. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a scenario where I think they will. And that is where everyone's hurting within a country. They're hurting really bad. Of course, the one percenters have all the wealth, 99% are starving. And then they offer UBI, Universal Basic Income. They offer it on a digital platform with absolutely no gold backing. I think they would probably go ahead and take that as quote unquote money. It wouldn't be money, it'd be currency. Let's see. Prepper says, I'm learning a ton here, totally ignorant on the subject. Hey, Prepper, we're glad to have you here. Okay.
Yep.
And go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna add, I want to share the screen really quick to show you all some stuff. So we see the silver eagle is only worth $1. That's at least what's stamped on. And we also see that the gold eagle is only worth $25, and that's what's stamped. But they're worth a lot more in melt value. So a great thing about this legal tender act is that it's actually going to be the melt value, how much they're actually worth in each state. That's how much it's worth. One of the biggest scams the government has been trying to pull is eventually they wanted to try to say that, oh, this silver dollar is only worth $1 fiat and this gold eagle is only worth 25 bucks. So that's what they were trying to do. But so this actual legal tender act is getting rid of that scam that they wanted to implement, I'm thinking. What do you think about that, Patrick?
I think you may be correct in that. And that's one more story I'd like to share. I'm not sure I've told this story on Truth, Money, and Freedom before, but Alex and I actually talk offline. So he's heard this story before. But I went to my bank, it's Great Southern Bank, and it's a regional bank. It's not a big national bank. And literally asked them, about gold and silver. And I said, do you guys sell gold and silver? The answer was no. And I said, can people use gold and silver for repayment of debt with the bank? And they said, oh, absolutely, they can. I said, so do you sell gold and silver? The answer, again, is no. I said, okay, so if I bring you an ounce of gold and slide it across the counter, will that be cancel at $1,900 of debt? And they said, no, that ounce of gold is only worth $50. I said,
Wow.
okay, seriously. I said, you're not joking with me. You're literally using the stamped value on a gold eagle. Is that what you? And they said, yes, that's what it's worth. I said, no, that's not what it's worth. That's what the U.S. Mint stamps on the coin. That's not what it's actually worth. So my bank is willing to take an ounce of gold off my hands for $50, but they won't sell it back. So I encourage all of you who are listening in today to ask this question of your local bank. What do they do with gold and silver? And I would love it if you would comment in the comment section down below after the fact and tell me, because I literally told you a Great Southern Bank does. If you're in Missouri, especially Southern Missouri, you'll know who Great Southern Bank is. But that's literally their response to that. Alex, have you ever had a chance to ask your bank this?
No, but I didn't. I did know this though. What you were saying. So, what do you think of this scam? Do you think this legal tender act will stop it? Will the banks have to take those gold coins for the amount they're really worth, or do you think they're going to still try to do the scam? And what are the implications of the scam?
Okay, that's a very good question because when Basel III swings around to the Federal Reserve, gosh darn it, I really need help here. It starts literally this month with the European Central Bank. Gold is at 100% value. When it comes around to the Federal Reserve, I don't think they can get away with that anymore. So they will have to take gold and silver, well, I'm sorry, gold at its actual value as repayment for debt. So they're certainly not doing it right now, though. They'll be very happy to give me $50 for an ounce of gold, though.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's definitely true.
yeah, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Liberty says that's all due to regulations surrounding face value laws and counterfeiting laws. Yeah, that's also. But yeah, but they're not selling the gold and silver either. They're keeping it. So there's another component to that, Liberty. Jimmy says $50, bite me. Love it. The banks are bound by FDIC. Yep, understood. Yeah, they are. They are absolutely bound by the FDIC. Okay, Alex. Listen, guys, you got any questions or comments? Throw them in here. I'm thinking about wrapping it up. And Alex, do you have any more comments or anything else you'd like to bring up on this podcast?
No, just if you have a business, please accept gold and silver as payment.
Hmm.
And if we can start using it, we can break the bank, hopefully.
Yep, that's a really, really good point. And by the way, you don't have to wait for your state. This loyal title. It's loyal title, gang. What that means is you can use gold and silver right now and transact with anyone who's willing to accept it without your state saying, hey, it's okay to do so. But when the state says, hey, it's okay to do so, that gives retailers a different option. We're talking about person to person transaction versus person to retailer transaction or person to service offer, transaction, whatever. So that opens up doors for them to be able to accept it. And retailers currently are not big on taking gold and silver for a whole variety of reasons that Alex and I talked about earlier. But
And
it,
the great thing also, I want, oh, you go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I was just going to say, checking for purity and checking for weight. And then also transacting in change, which would have to be in US currency. Generally, when you're talking about, you make a big purchase and use an ounce of gold, and the ounce of gold's worth 1900, but your purchase is like 1200. Well, they can give you lots of silver back, but eventually you're going to get to the point where they're going to have to give you some of that change in American currency. So, but the important thing is we can transact in both. And it's a common misconception. Here in the United States, we used to have two currencies. Or I'm sorry, one money and one currency, gold and paper money. We used to have that here in the United States. Both of them were transactable at businesses and at banks. You could use your $100 bill, or you could use, back in the 1920s, 5 ounces of gold. Everyone took both. So we actually used to transact in two different currency types. One of them's money, one of them's currency. I get it. Trust me. Forgive me. But we can do it again. We can do it again. There's no reason we can't do it again. So, but what they're going to have to do, as opposed to weight and purity, they're going to have to revalue gold and silver to do that, aren't they, Alex?
Yeah, and the great thing too about gold and silver is that when you exchange your fiat dollars for gold and silver in these states that are making it legal tender, they're not taxed to get the gold and silver. So I think that's another good thing about it.
Let's get to a few more comments here. Liberty says, I'm sure the teller has a different opinion, but they can't say. Actually, I was dealing with the branch manager when I was actually doing that, Liberty. So I didn't actually go to a teller. I should have, though. I should have gone to a teller. I didn't even think about it. It's just my branch manager is so easy to get a hold of. Maria says, what do you guys think about the illegal gold mining in Venezuela? I don't know much about illegal gold mining in Venezuela. I know that it's horrible all over South America and in parts of Central America too. But the illegal gold mining is that's a horrible problem because that's, once again, that's property of that country. And so it doesn't become property of that country when people are illegally mining it. So, that's a bad deal. Alex, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a lot of foreign countries just pillaging,
Yep.
Venezuela. They're actually, Chinese are dredging around Angel Falls, just stealing the gold and raw materials. So that's basically what's going on over there. It's just theft of
Yep.
the country, pretty much, because it's not a lot. Yeah, so it's pretty bad in some areas.
Yep. Let's see. Moto says, I'll make you a deal. I'll double your bank and take your ounces at $100 each. I'm sure you would, Motor Stacker. No deal, by the way. Liberty says, by the way, I love your joke, Moto. Liberty says, if I take gold and silver as payment in melt value, I can declare face value as taxable income. Shh. Liberty, we don't type
Oh,
that or speak it. That's one of the benefits of dealing in certain types of gold and silver. Moto, I want in on that action. Of course you do, Jimmy. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I think we're going to go ahead and you guys, one last call here to put any questions or comments in the chat before we end the stream for today. And I think that um, the gold is going to China. I think that they have way more gold than they're willing to admit, way more gold. And that's probably true for Russia as well. Hey, if you guys can hear us, give us a 5x5. We'll wrap it up. We were close to the end on this, but my computer literally just died right in the middle of this.
it looks like it's working now on YouTube. I
Okay,
see
gotcha.
it working.
Okay, good deal. Glad to see it. Okay, gang. Like I said, my computer literally just died. The screen went black, so I looked over at my PC. All the lights were off. It just powered itself off. That's basically what happened. So, yeah, no grand conspiracy here. No YouTube shutting us down. This was just my PC. So, sorry about that. And we can wrap up here. I just wanted to basically say, first of all, thank you to everyone for joining us today. And secondly, what we were talking about with the East getting the gold is something that we all need to remember and think about. Uh, so gold will still have value, even if the United States and the Federal Reserve says gold's an old barbaric relic. We don't need gold. Well, that's not what the East says at all. And so basically, what they do with gold will give gold value as well. Gold already had value to begin with. Same thing with silver. And by the way, I am much more into silver than I am into gold. So just my opinion. It's what I have personally chosen to do. I'm not saying that one metal is better over the other. I just think that silver has been held down so incredibly hard by the Treasury and the banks for so long that it may go up in value faster and higher in percentage wise than gold will. So that's my opinion. So I don't see anyone typing anything in. Let us know if you can hear us and see us okay, gang.
It says there's 6 people watching now, so the view count has definitely went up.
Okay.
Yeah, please type a 5x5 if you can hear us, please. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We should probably wrap it up anyway because I do have to make some phone calls. So let me go ahead and do that. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And I'm sorry. Thank you, Maria. Appreciate it. Um, want to thank all of you for joining us. It was kind of a impromptu thing, but it's time to get back into gold and silver again. And who else, better to get into another gold and silver video with than our friend at the American Free Press, Alex. You guys can find linked right down below in the description section a link to get to Alex's YouTube channel. And he has all the links on his YouTube channel to get to all of his other social media platforms. But he's not just doing American Free Press. He's also got a very interesting new channel in which he's talking to millennials what gold and silver means to them. And I think that's a brilliant idea, and it's something he's doing. He's partnered up with David Morgan to do so, our good friend David Morgan. So please check out both his American Free Press channel and also his, what's the other one called? The Morgan Millennial or something?
The Morgan Millennial Minute.
Yeah, Morgan Millennial, Triple M. Yep. Okay, gotcha. I think that would be great if you guys could check out those channels. And there's content going up on both channels all the time, so you guys won't be bored. But thank you once again for joining us. Thank you, Alex, for joining me today and helping me get my toes dipped into gold and silver again for the first time in a little while.
Well, thank you, Patrick, and thank you all for everybody who is watching.
All right, you guys all take care. May God bless each and every one of you. And thanks again for hanging out with us this afternoon. Take care, gang.